our third episode, pangatlo na. So dahil pangatlo na, meron akong special guest host na in-invite. So we have here the group marketing lead of Lennor, our very own Andre.
Hello, kumusta?
Yan.
Ayun, hi, I'm Andre, marketing lead ng Lennor. I'll take over this session as guest speaker. So, ako yung nagla-live ng video ngayon. So, have fun. Let's have fun. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy our talk today. So, ayun.
Mhm. Hmm. Also, he is the one in charge to create the vouchers with his team. So, yung mga nag-aabang ng mga beauty voucher dyan, yung mga discount, Andre is the one who's manning the team for that. So, welcome, Andre. I
Thank
hope
you.
this is the first and not the last session na ikaw yung magiging guest host ko.
I do think na hindi ito yung last. Ayun, so I'm excited.
Correct.
I'm excited.
Mm.
I'm excited. Ano ba yung topic na pag-uusapan natin today, Paul?
Yeah,
Because
so,
curious din ako.
correct. Correct. Since special ka nga, we have our very own special episode for this one. So right now we know that tech is really evolving and it is one of the key industries here in the market right now. So
Mhm.
we are going to talk more about tech and hacking into success in launching a career in tech. So in this episode we invited two guests in their successful fields to talk more about how we can encourage people and other who wants to venture out in the tech industry. Yung mga gustong magkaroon ng career in the tech and also those who want to shift in tech. So what's better way to have this conversation than of course have it with our invited guests? I'm honored to introduce not one but two guest speaker for today's Lennor Pulse. Our first special guest this afternoon is currently an award-winning mentor of Future Lab and a senior data engineer for Accenture. She is also the co-founder and chief technology officer of Facts on Ground, and she's also one of the women in AI ambassadors and community AI enthusiasts. An aspiring Google developer expert in machine learning and Google Cloud Platform who has already made major studies toward her goal. Everyone, please welcome Armielyn Obinguar.
All right, thank you
Hi,
so much. I'm
Armielyn.
so glad to
Yes,
be
good
here.
How should
afternoon.
we call you? Armielyn, Army, or ano? Armielyn. Ganun.
Yeah, I think most of people call me Amy. Yeah,
Amy,
Oh,
that's what.
all right.
Amy. Okay. So we can call you Amy. Okay.
Yeah,
Ayun.
all right.
Um, kumusta naman? Kumusta naman?
Yeah, I think it's a very nice opportunity actually to be here. So this is my first time talaga to like podcast time or like talaga siya on
Ah,
Facebook. And
really?
so it was really like
Okay.
my first time. So usually it's like talking to people on Zoom
Mhm.
and so on.
Mm,
Thank you so much for this. And hoping to have a great conversation with you guys.
of course, Amy. And this would not be your last, I hope. First
Mhm.
and not the last,
Ano na to?
definitely.
Start na to ng
Starting
ano,
ground.
ng
Oo,
career mo
correct.
sa ano, content creation. Bukas break mo na. So, ayun. Ayun, excited ako. And I have another person, great individual to
Yes.
introduce, yeah, who will be joining us today. We have someone who has made a lot of waves sa tech industry in general. As in, if you know tech, bottom to up, sila talaga. He scaled along the way since the technological advancement natin dito. So they have multiple experience and with one being of co-founder of Moving Mobile Forward, a group focused on designing and developing mobile system. Tapos he led the UX mobile design and journeys for OLX, which was Sulit before, as far as I know. Gcash, Caliver, Savvy, or formerly Upload, Grocery, and more. So please give a warm welcome to Mark Lester Lacsamana.
Hi, Mark.
How are
Hello.
you?
Ayun, I
Welcome,
mean,
welcome.
it's great to be here. Kahit na, well, it's the middle of summer, so mainit. So, at tayo
Init.
napipito, but
Correct.
good.
Ayan. maybe after that introduction, maybe we can give the floor to Amy and Mark to give a
Mm-hmm.
brief personal introduction on what their personality is all about.
Yes, please. Maybe Army can start first, and then we'll go after Mark.
You're familiar with
Yep.
ChatGPT and the evolving software that we had right now.
Mm.
So I'm really working on AI. And aside from that, I'm really involved with communities. So we try to help students
Wow.
get to know AI. And if they wanted to really, understand AI, not just, as something that is wonderful, but to move forward with follow ethics, solving that in a way that we are still following the standards and making sure that we are practicing the good AI, is what we call it. So, and I think that's something that I do. Aside from that, I also love Taylor Swift. If you are really
Wow,
familiar with her,
Swifties.
I do listen to her music, and I find it really amazing as well to see more women really paving their way to tech, especially in AI,
Yes,
and
correct.
see that behind the ChatGPT, it's also a woman. So that's amazing.
Mm.
So I'm here to thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Amy. And I'm glad to hear that you're a fellow Swiftie. Abangan natin ang concert niya. And thank you so much. Also heard that you are an advocate for helping students and children to, of course, know more about AI. So thank you for that, Amy. And we're on to Mark.
Uh, so hi, so hello. My name is Mark Lacsamana, and as mentioned, I've nakakahiya palagi when I say this, but there's wisdom in age. So I've been doing this for 12 years now. Like I've been a UX designer for 12 years. It's literally every time in an interview, in a job interview, people have mentioned like it really
Mm,
is a passion of mine, particularly like good design. I do think good design does make a big difference because when it comes to
correct.
people, particularly for me at least, not just good design but inclusive design is
Correct.
something that I look out for, and that's generally like what I fight for. Medyo dumating na nga, I think ako sa point where somebody actually I don't call myself this, but somebody gave me the title of design activist, so okay na rin.
Oh.
But yeah. So besides what I do for design, so yun nga, like I was actually there when OLX was still called Sulit. I've worked mostly in the mobile app space, but also in the web space. Besides like generally like design on the screen, I have a big passion for inclusive design in our urban spaces and in our general physical spaces. I'm a big bike addict slash cyclist. So I generally don't drive a car because I'm gay.
Mm,
Yeah, but I ride a bike everywhere, and I try to advocate for like more inclusive transport for everyone. So
mhm, correct. Ang active ng life ni Mark, in
Kaya
fairness
nga, sobrang
naman.
parang ang busy.
Oo.
Para everyday may ganap.
Mm, mm. And gusto ko yung sinabi ni Mark that parang design to make it more inclusive, and I
Mhm.
really like that. And I
And
hope with this topic we can touch more about it as well.
yeah, I do think naman na really significant, especially
Mm,
yung experience ni Mark. He's been all decade long na dito sa industry, and he knows that the industry is growing every day, right? So
correct. Mm,
um his experience is very much appreciated dito sa industry na to, and I know that there's more growth. Baka mamaya nasa kanya yung next level na advancement na makikita natin sa future. Di
na.
ba? Di ba? We never know. Di ba? We never know. So, ayun. Moving forward, I do have a question. Both Mark and Amy, how did you know, or when did you know, or kailan you na-realize yung to start your passion or your interest dun sa career niyo right now? So, tell us your story kung paano kayo napunta sa kinakalagyan niyo ngayon. Ganun.
Yeah. Was it
Ganun.
something that you dreamt of being when you were just a kid or your younger self? Na parang, oh, 8 years old ako, dapat pag 30 na ako or 25 na ako, nasa tech ako. Is it something like that?
Um, hmm. So I wouldn't say that when I was younger I thought that I would get into tech. Particularly, I remember saying when I was 6, now when I grow up, I want to be an animator, and
Alright.
that's what was in my head. But when looking back now, at least in particular, but if you ask me how I got started on design, or at least like anything related to a specific like interface or like touch point, I was it was weird to but I remember this very well. Sobrang fascinated ako sa mga ATM machines when I was younger. 1993, 1994, kasama ko mom ko, etc. Mom ko, of course, pupunta sa ATM machine, dut, and like things come out. Ako amazed na amazed ako. May touchscreens na in the 90s, just saying, hindi 2000s ang touchscreen. May mga touchscreen. Pero amazed na.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Ang wala no is multi-touch screens. But yun.
Hope you're having a good day.
Sorry, so yun, like I was so amazed by ATMs, and to the point na when I would, like, let's say pag uuwi kami, maglalaro kami ng kapatid ko, etc., I would start cutting up cardboard boxes.
Just to look like a card.
And then gagawa ako, like, magdodrawing ako doon sa cardboard box ng, like, yung, ATM. And you play pretend about that. So that's how I got started. Like 4, 5, I was doing essentially what is a paper prototype in that sense.
Yeah.
So ayun, started from ATM, now you are one of the lead people in tech, no? Ako din fascinated ako sa ATM kasi gusto ko yung lumalabas talaga yung pera doon. So,
yeah, sobrang alam ko parang wow, like magic, may pera lumalabas din.
di ba?
When we were younger, yung iniisip natin, saan nanggagaling yung pera? Or pinili on the spot? Or ano, di ba? Yun yung usual question natin na sa kid. Nakakatawa.
Gusto ko yung sorry mo. So that inspires you right now, or that is the earliest idea mo in tech?
Yes, like that's the earliest idea, like literally 1993, 1994. Because I remember nanonood pa ako ng Gem and the Holograms, ganun level.
Okay. So it's a good connection from ATM. Now you are getting something from the ATM. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Diba?
Yep. And and looking at it, like then like I ended up working for Gcash, and it's a fairly similar. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. I think you have something to share about Gcash.
Oh, well, one of the things that I worked on in Gcash was the generate barcode feature, which like up to now, ngayon ko lang siya na-realize in the pandemic na parang ganun siya ka-big deal.
Sobra.
I mean, I helped create it. I wasn't the only design person making it, but I helped basically push it to production. And like I remember kasi tinest namin yun sa Family Mart, sa Trade and Finance Tower, katabi ng Globe. And like that was, dun kami nag-test na generate barcode, kasi cash in ka. Cash in pa lang.
Cash in pa lang.
Now, di ba, bibili ka sa 7-Eleven, tapos yun, automatic niya kukunin. So yun.
Yes.
That's what at least one of the things I did. Cash.
So viewers, Mark Lacsamana, one of those who are responsible for the QR generation. So thank you so much, Mark, for that. Actually, yun yung dalawang gusto ko sa update ng Gcash eh. The QR and also yung for yung malalaman mo na agad kung ano yung OTP mo. Yung lalabas siya.
That's the back-end team. Like, much props to them. Kasi dati, minsan wonky yun. Like, minsan...
Yeah.
Minsan yung OTP.
Yeah. Dati nga din yung what I call this, yung transaction, yung nakita mo yung transactions mo.
Parang receipt, the history.
Parang yung transaction history. Dati it would take like 8 to 24 hours to update. Real time na.
Mabilis na.
When I was working, this 2017, like medyo matagal yung mag-reflect nun.
So thank you so much for the front end and the back end people who's working with Gcash. It makes us, of course, more convenient in terms of paying and getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your experience. How about you, Amy? How is it when you were a kid? Pagising mo ba sa umaga, tech na agad? What's your story?
Yeah, actually, that's a very nice question. When I actually look back kanina with that question, I remember I was just really a fan of computers. Like my
Oh,
dad bought me a computer before. Thinking ko that time was it's just for games, playing games and stuff. Like yung Plants vs. Zombies. I'm really, really fan of it. And then yung mga like super games before, like
yeah,
yung Plants vs. Zombies, I see it like all the way to ano yun, na after school, that's my reward kasi I did well. Ganon.
correct.
So,
Mm.
and then that time, parang my dad was like, okay, stop playing, ganyan, ganyan. Kasi parang mapuyat ka na, and so on. So,
Mm.
my next ano naman is Super Mario. So sabi ko, I was really like a fan of it na parang it was like something that I really want to do. And then eventually, when I was like high school na, I found that, you know, hindi lang pala yung computer is it wasn't just for games. I feel like
Mm.
before na parang, hey, paano kaya nila na-build yung something na yun? Like, paano
From
naging plans for this
curiosity.
yeah, and it's from curiosity talaga. And then that time, akala ko I would be venturing out with mobile development. Kasi like the games and stuff, and so on, like mobile
Yeah, yeah.
development, game development. Pero on the side, parang, I was like learning stuff about AI when I was kid, pero hindi pa yung coding. So nagbabasa lang talaga ako ng mga things about
Mm.
it.
Mhm.
And my dad was like very supportive that time kasi parang he always bought me books about it. And then
Yeah.
soon after, we had this competition na parang it's like about robotics. So I tried.
Oh,
Sabi ko parang same lang to ng ano Super Mario, like
uh,
ganun ang think of the box and then just playing games. So I find it like just something like that. And then after a few weeks of the competition, I won. Kasi like I didn't know I was enjoying yung coding. And then that
yeah, the
time, ay yung
process.
yeah, it's something like from curiosity to eventually executing that. So, and that time, parang, okay, I think coding is for me. Pero hindi pa ako nag-push through to going to coding. Kasi my
Yeah.
bachelor was not really about CS or computer science. So, I'm really a
Uh-huh.
science student. Parang sabi ko that time, baka there was like no future or it's not for me kasi like women before was like we're only like at home or like math was like
Yeah,
really hard for
correct.
us that time. So sabi ko, sige magsa-science na lang. I'm gonna try na lang to, aside from, you know, instead of going to tech
Mm.
eventually. So sabi ko, and then nung college na, sabi ko, parang hindi ko na feel yung parang excitement. Yung kagaya nung when I was like kid na parang I just enjoy doing things and executing something. And then when I go back again to coding now in college, dun ko na siya na-realize na I think this is something that I really want to do. Kasi I find it enjoying.
Mm.
And then parang ito yung something na parang passion. So I think more awakening is like parang I try to escape with what I really
Yeah,
want kasi I wanted to do something na parang that's what society wants us to do, like something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
correct.
Then I try
Mm.
to make choice na parang okay, I need to do something na I really want talaga. So that's where I found
Mm.
like yeah, getting
Mm,
back with your
okay.
first love. You know? Yeah.
From Plants versus Zombies going to
Yeah.
ganun. And there's a journey, there's a story before you came up with your current career. Also, I really relate sa sinabi mo that what society thinks that dun ka dapat. Nung college ka ba, when you're studying in the tech, ilan kayong babae sa classroom?
Actually,
Marami din ba?
I actually very few. Like,
Or
I had like classes na 5 lang kami, over like 30
mm,
plus na students. So it was really very few talaga, even on science,
correct.
math, and
Mhm.
everything.
Mm-mm.
It's a really small portion. And then
Mm-mm.
sabi ko parang, okay, I don't want to see more like this in the class. I want more like balance na parang
Oo,
we can do
correct.
both and all that. So and then, until, ayun, I went to see na, okay, I need to advocate that more kids,
Mm.
more
More people.
girls, more women going to that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Involved in tech.
for
Mm.
I, I
inclusivity.
I do
Yes.
I do empathize with that because when nung college ako, so share ko lang, before ako nag-marketing, nagmapuwa ako. I studied computer engineering for a year. I empathize because sa block namin, um, walang babae. I mean, meron nung first term meron.
Yeah.
Siya lang. Tapos nung second term, siya lang ulit. Tapos nung third
Mm.
term, fourth term, wala na. Tapos, pero meron naman, may portion naman. Pero
Yeah.
just to emphasize na hindi masyadong hindi masyadong paano ba, enticing sa kanila yung course na yun. But I do hope that people would push that
Yeah, correct.
not gender specific
Mhm.
program, because everyone can skill on it. May you regardless of gender, right? And then the opportunity is always there as long as you
Mm.
show your skills. So I do hope that next generations we can see that there would be a great
A lot
demand
of,
and growth,
yeah.
yeah, on this path, right? So, ayun,
Mm.
nakatuwa lang. Share ko lang din.
Oo. Also, I have the same experience with both Amy and Andre. Kasi ako naman, this one is a first-hand experience. I am also hindi my graduate course right now is not my first course. So nag-IT din ako. So I studied IT for 1 year at FEU. AYAC pa siya before, hindi pa siya FEU Tech. So I studied ano ba yung may specialization yun eh, parang for the computer science. I think AGD yung akin, animation and something. And then I switched to mobile development, yun. So marami talaga akong tinay. And then yung the amount of girls in our class on their first term is 5. So 5 kami. Eh try term yung tri-sem yung FEU that time. So first term 5 kami and then yung second term nalagas na kami. 3 na lang kami. Tapos pagdating ng third term, nakaabot pa ako ng third term. 2 na lang kami. So parang at the end of the day, iniwan ko din siya. So isa na lang siya natira dun sa pinaka-block namin. So right now, same as what you both hope for, I know that the society meron talaga tayong specific numbers for that. Pero I can see naman that there are changes na and improvement. Marami na rin talagang girls or female na transition to tech. And I hope na mag-continue siya so that sometimes kasi there's a psychological logic in terms of pag pumasok ka sa classroom tas puro lalaki, may intimidate ka as a girl, 'di ba? Correct? May intimidate ka na parang, oh, baka hindi ako belong dito kasi it's dominated by men, 'di ba? So, ikaw, deep inside you, medyo may insecure ka and you got intimidated. So, hindi ka na magtutuloy. So, I hope that this change or improvements would start in the classroom. So, kapag nakita nila na it's well divided in terms of gender, hindi sila may intimidate. So, that's my hope. And thank you so much, Amy, for sharing that. Nagkaroon din tayo na aside from tech, nagkaroon din tayo na medyo makadamdaming conversation. So, thank you, Amy, for that.
Nakakatuwa because there's growth sa
Yeah.
industry, right? May it's sa school until sa workplace.
Yeah.
Not limited to corporate but also in tech. Diba? Nakakatuwa naman.
School
Thank
kasi is
you.
a stepping stone eh.
Mhm.
Diba? When you are college, alam mo na kapag tapos mo ng college, sasaba ka na talaga sa real world eh. So, it's a stepping stone talaga for us. So, moreover, with the questions, our next question would be, how can someone gain experience in a specific tech niche if they are just starting out?
Wait, follow-up question in advance. Mark and
Yeah.
Amy, like, nagbo-bootcamp ba kayo or ganun nung before mag-start yung career, or nagbabasa pa kayo ng mga courses, or nag-learn kayo ng iba pa na hindi in-offer nung, kunyari, after nyo graduate or after nung studies nyo, tapos parang feeling nyo may kulang, ganun, nag-aral pa kayo ng more, kasi diba, yun yun. If I
Yeah.
know, maraming titles din, under you guys, diba? Yun.
So I guess for me, like when I first graduated, kasi when I was studying, because like I graduated 2011. Wala pang boot camps nun, not a lot. The only boot camps that were alive at that point were all abroad. So either mahal or you couldn't even access them. So the only time na actually nagkaroon ako ng access to some level of boot camps, medyo pang I was already kind of like associate mid-level in my journey. So parang they were like boot camps or workshops to help me just skill up to seniority at that point. But on the question of like, because like, let's say from my course in college to where I am now, well, kind of related yung course ko sa college. I say kind of related because sa Ateneo, medyo weird ang pangalan ng courses at medyo weird ang courses. I come from a hybrid course called Bachelor of Science, major in Communication Technology Management. So it's technically a management course na may some level of mix of tech and comms and marketing. Now, so yes, related siya but kulang, usually very theoretical. So ako, I particularly like ended up studying on my own, like really like experimenting and studying on my own, especially like sa mga orgs ko ng college and right after, like I would dig deep into yung like the rabbit hole of trying to figure out things. Also, back in 2011, 2010, when you were a designer, you were expected to know your HTML and CSS. So, like you were expected to know how to code your own design. So, yeah, like I went into the rabbit hole of that. Also, this was the era when the WordPress was just becoming a thing. So I dug deep into that. So natuto ako from that. There is actually conversations about this particular time in tech, no, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, na a lot of people were learning about tech. And because there was a lot of resources that were freely available, not boot camps, but there were just a lot of resources available. Mga like tutorial websites, yung mga good like Daydream Graphics, ganyan. There were just a lot of tutorials available online, which made it easier for different people to get into tech. This is why and people attribute it to why a lot of like, let's say, the newer faces in tech, or like more women, more black people of color, etc., more trans people, etc., got into tech at that specific point in time because it was open and free. That's why a lot of your big kind of female names in tech kind of started in 2010, 11, 12, etc., like Gina Ann, etc. Ganun. Yun. It was because like tutorials were freely available at the time, and
easy
people
access.
people like me just dug deep and just started experimenting on that. And that's how I ended up going through my job, actually.
Or, just to share back in what Mark said before Amy shares. I do remember at that time sikat yung Multiply at saka Friendster.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
You can edit the CSS HTML codes, right? And then ako as a high school student, hindi, grade 6 nga ako doon. Nag-HTML tayo, right? And then, di ba, ginagawa natin yun. We're basically
Coding.
people, di ba? Nilalagyan pa natin ng songs yung profile natin.
Yeah.
Ang kulit niya ito.
So many women, queer people, people of color designers will say that the first website they ever designed was their Neopets website, their Multiply website. Yung gano'n, like, actually, ang dami Neopets. Neopets, like, pinakamadalas ko naririnig. Starting point. And it was, that was an interesting time na the web was more open versus now kasi you go through boot camps, and boot camps are expensive.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Before kasi they're an open access for you. You just need the passion to learn. And tawa talaga ako doon sa Friendster kasi naalala ko pa siya eh. Parang you need to get the code for a specific song tapos ika-copy-paste mo siya. Di ba?
Tapos magkakaroon ng snowflake.
Sorry, no.
Grabe, the age ha. Edad natin. Parang nagkakaroon tayo ng backtrack sa natin. What is tech before and tech now, di ba?
Yeah. And to think that we are considering yung loading time ng profile natin, 'di ba? No, kasi mabigat yung yung codes, 'di ba?
Yung GIF, no?
Yung later efficiency nung Wala, we're geeking out on nostalgia na. So ayun, let's move on. Amy, you're naman, share with us now.
Yes, actually, I think nag-start ako kasi I don't have any like the capacity to really pay for bootcamps.
Yeah.
And I think around 2020, it was like a lot of bootcamps na for data science or like AI. But it was really paid. It's like, you have to pay like 60K just to be there. Sabi ko, at the time, I don't have the capacity. So sabi ko, okay, I do other things now would help me now without paying for like a lot of money. Ganun. So that's the time that I really use internet. So from there, sabi ko, sige, I just use the cheapest way to
Yeah.
learn a new skill. So that is to really self-learn. And then it was really effective for me. Kasi, though I think for others, it might be different because like we have a different, type of
Mm-hmm,
learning,
mm-hmm.
style. But for me, it really works yun. Kasi that's the thing na I think would help me, given with my financial capacity, resources that I have the time. And so that I decided na, okay, studying through YouTube, basically, and then courses that is really free that time. And after that, afterwards, I see a lot of scholarships na. Sabi ko, I just got in here, like learn the basic that they need, and then to win the interview for scholarships. So the time, ayun yung naging stepping stone. Kaya I think I would really say na you don't have to really pay a lot just to learning the skill.
Yeah.
Parang you have to always reevaluate what you can really have or at
Correct.
best kasi if people decided to just invest on things na hindi pa talaga nila reach that time, and sometimes they go with debt, ayan, student debt and
Mm.
so on. It
Yeah.
was really like
Correct.
tough to really spend on something that you don't have yet. So I think the cheapest way is really possible. So
Mm.
I think until now, I think that that's the thing that I would be grateful for. Na I didn't decided to do some student debt at the time just to learn a skill and just make use of what I have like the internet and so on. It was really
Mm.
open kasi parang what you
Correct.
need to do is just use it effectively for your own for your own good. And I think
It
yeah, I
made
think
you
wala
resourceful
talaga ako
fun.
nilabas na yeah, yeah. I think I didn't really spend so much money just to learn something skill na would benefit me to earn this kind of salary and so on. And just really, ask people where you can get scholarships. And that's the time that
Mm.
you can, delve more deeper to that skill. So I think that's my take. And siguro for others now who would plan to really start out,
Yeah.
think really truly kung ano yung parang something that what you have or you have right now like assess para you wouldn't impossibly do something na you would regret later on for doing. So I think that's really one of the things that I can really say. Yeah.
Can I add lang, speaking of scholarships, especially now, post like as people have become more socially aware, post
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, etc., things like that, there are lots of scholarships for people with like specific backgrounds, and we generally fall into that background as people who basically live in what they call the global south. Yeah, there are
Mm.
lots of scholarships for that. In example for me particularly, I 2 years ago I wanted to specialize, and I guess we'll talk about it. I wanted to specialize into design systems. But I was already researching and studying quite a bit on it, but to really like get a good grasp and like see what people were talking about, I found a scholarship from Dan Moll, who is this fairly famous designer. He started something called Super Friendly. He has the design system masterclass, and
Oh.
he gave scholarships and free scholarships, particularly to people who did not have the capacity or live in like the global south. And
Mm-hmm.
particularly he has a soft spot for Filipinos because he's part Filipino, so I got it free.
Oh.
I got it free. So like like there are scholarships for, and there are a lot of scholarships for
Mm.
Filipinos out there.
That is full scholarship, correct ba?
Yeah, like, I didn't pay for the course at all. Like ang
Loan
Holy.
punan ko lang
program.
is ang punan ko lang is I needed to stay up like at 11 p.m. kasi ganun yun yung oras eh.
But that is still a win for you, di ba? You
Yeah.
get paid to study.
And then, as in, not paid. Like the course was free. It's just a
Yeah,
matter
of
of
course.
just staying up for it. Yeah. So there
It's
are
worth
That's
the money.
nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
That's nice.
yun. Speaking of opportunities and career question, your niche, yung specialization, how do you think tawag nito, how do you think it is important to practice one one specific niche before entering the work market as a tech person, and then on how will it make an impact sa career nyo? Kayo guys. How do you think is it how do you think is it important na mag-start muna from this specialization then grow from the branches of it para
Yeah.
'di ba? Usually kasi I do understand that tech is like a big puzzle and then everyone has a piece to work on it. So how hard is it? And then paano yung impact nun sa inyo to branch out, start from that and then branch out on scaling yourself sa career? Sige, Amy. Can you tell?
Yeah, I think I could start. Okay. I think on my end, siguro, I think the one important thing to really start with one is that underlying kasi nung one area na yun is like a big pool of, fields of ano pa. So when I go to I thought it was just an AI, like generally. But when I was like diving more deeper, meron pa palang different kinds of it. And it was really overwhelming kasi like AI is like applicable to other industries. So my question was that, saan ko to i-apply? So that's the time na yun na yung pinaka magiging specific part of your niche now where you want to apply this specific skill. And I think that's really important then for those starting out na it's really overwhelming right now because a lot of skills are in the internet. So I think finding your interest and seeing na maybe itong interest na to might somehow like, useful for the career that you want to pursue or other way around. And then focus on one and then somehow from that one is you can choose your specific, something to pursue.
Mark, Mark.
Oh, okay. So yeah, for my side of things, at least in the side of design, because design is a different ball game when it comes to tech. Talaga, it's a different beast, and there are specific specializations in design. Like I mentioned kanina, I wanted to at least dig deeper into design systems, and that's a very particular niche of UI design. But design, because of like the way it is as a creative field and it's within tech, things generally move very fast. Essentially, things happen in trends and in growth. So I actually would say na parang, especially for people getting to UX and UX design, etc.,
Yeah.
and UX and UI, learn to be more be more a generalist at the start, to at least and make sure that you have your foundations, your general foundations, really really good at the start before you specialize into certain things. Because like there are things that that you will always go back to with your foundations. Things like knowing how to do a user interview is gonna be useful no matter where you go. Because from there you're gonna understand how to make insights and how to understand insights so that you can design proper solutions. Like understanding that base will always be better. So parang specializations are great, maybe mid through throughout your later in your career, but the always at least having a good base of your general or generalist skills, research, good UI skills, good UX skills, etc., will always be useful. Like let's say for me, job hunting. If I can't find a design systems job, especially locally, because there's not a lot, I can easily just fall back on being a senior UX designer, and that's always a good thing because that's a general skill that I'll always have. So, and I will always know how to do. So, I would say at least for design, make sure your general foundations of good UX and good UI design is intact, and then like start moving into specializations. Like I have friends who I have a friend who ended up going and taking his masters in Austria for what they call this, for speech design, or what they call this, yung mga automated chatbots and how to design for those. I have a friend then who specialized in, because she's a writer but also a designer, ended up specializing in what you call content design and understanding how we design content on the page. May mga ganun. So that's like another very specific side of tech. But all of them will still know how to research, how to conduct an interview, how much white space they should have, etc. They have something to fall back on in case in case they have to fall back on things. So,
Thanks for the take, Mark and Amy. So parang your general advice is have your core skills, and then as time goes by, is it good to have it's good to have a specialization as well. And there are hybrid titles na, no, like with your friend, communication and tech, speech and tech. So there's a lot. So right now emerging talaga and very fast yung industry natin, especially in the tech. So my next question is, what challenges do you see emerging in the tech industry in the near future? Like with your own fields? Maybe Mark can go first.
Sige.
Just to add lang.
I think for me, especially as well, recent buzzword talaga ang AI, assisted technologies, etc., ChatGPT, ganyan, automation. Understanding, kasi we have to understand that AI is basically a system. These systems are made by humans, and therefore, because humans have biases, then therefore these systems have biases.
Yeah.
They are not infallible. And the more that we rely on them without being careful about it, you end up excluding people and you end up creating unethical tech.
Yeah.
And you end up creating unethical design because of it. Like if you let it just handle things. So good, some of my friends in the States have mentioned how certain unethical design things came out from just not being cautious about the way AI would tag things in their design. Example, when Google Photos was first released, it used AI to tag whether someone was like, let's say, an animal, etc. With something, a photo had an animal, etc. Who it was, ganun. I kid you not, they tagged black people as gorillas. And so these are like the things that we have to be aware of as designers, especially when we design the way our apps work. Like, let's say, are we making sure that things are accessible?
Yeah.
When I was working for grocery, I was working for mga owners ng sari-sari stores. Iniisip ko talaga, like, naiintindihan ba nila kung, like, let's say, mangungutang sila sa grocery, ganun. Like, naiintindihan ba nangyari doon, yung palista nila, etc. Or like, yung mga suddenly baka mamaya na o-order lang, na automate, etc. So those are the things na medyo I see as like the growing or the emerging challenges in the near future, especially as we designers start to work with more AI, na making sure they are ethical with the way they design things.
Correct.
I do like to add na as a consumer, using pag kunyari nag-rely na tayo much sa AI, parang we never know na yung kung sino man yung dev nun, kung ano yung bias niya, right? So, di ba, ayun, we were using Google, the search engine, as parang answer to our questions, right? Parang yung mga Quora, yung mga Reddit, ganun. Pero once we have it on ChatGPT, yung instant reply niya, hindi mo napapansin na nakukondition ka na pala nung kung ano yung lead dev na gusto niya yung answer na, 'di ba? Kasi since natututo siya sa by giving by us feeding it information, pero hindi natin alam na tayo yung nako-condition na as consumers. Nakakatuwa at nakakatakot din at the same time. Right? So ayun. Moving forward, Amy, your thoughts?
And si Amy, todo agree naman siya kay Mark. So, I think you have a story as well.
Parang dami sa tabi ni Amy.
I think yung pinaka first talaga na we really want to push through with these developments is still mas magkaroon pa rin dominance yung ethical AI. To really ensure the safety of the users. Kasi especially with designs, it's really one of the area talaga na right now it's really something like people see posts na gawa ng AI, and it was like so real na to the point na we think it's really real talaga, like made by human. But something like it was like very parang deceiving at some point. So I think in comparison, I think in contrast to whatever development, especially with AI, is to really make sure that we're still following the ethics. Kasi people get so overwhelmed, like that there is danger kasi with developing something like too much. And I think that's one thing that I always really push through, even sa hopefully with corporates right now, to make sure that ethical standards is followed, and at the same time, yeah, I think yung pinaka-idea din kasi ng AI that the humans still always be on the loop kasi it's still a machine, like a system.
Correct.
So without the supervision of human or and so on, it would fail at some point. So
Mhm.
we still are better than these machines kasi basically they're just trying to mimic what we can do. Pero again, we're still above. We have this, we can do what something more about with what they can. So I think that's something na is always work with these technologies and at the same time who set standards to make sure it's being followed correctly. So I
Yeah,
think yun
correct.
yung pinaka touching area is ayun. And then I think another was like if ever like people na like get scared din talaga, especially na touch design, other fields din actually. Like some people na find it na baka yung engineers na working in this would feel something. So yeah. Mm.
So that is one of the challenges or a few challenges that you see na in the near future tech will have. And I hope that people who wants to, of course, venture out in tech, shift to tech, can also be mindful about those and improve right now the tech world.
I have to ask question um hard coding to ano na ba yung advancement na yun? From using XD, Figma, Sketch, mga ganun. And then automation like yung DALI, tapos Journey. How was the process of keeping up with it? Scaling as a designer, UI UX along the way. Di ba kasi parang kunyari, kakatuto mo lang. Tapos, ano to, bago na naman, parang ganun. How did you
It's very
keep up with it?
fast.
Di ba? Yeah. Parang as tech grows so fast, di ka na
Correct.
makasabay. Di ba?
It is pretty fast. Like in my case, I'm particularly like a little bit like one half step behind generally. Like I remember, so like I can remember particularly like the steps into design. So we were Adobe Photoshop and then hard coding it from that, and then we ended up moving to something called Sketch, which was Mac only, and then Figma came out. Like I was a big believer of Sketch, so like napalipat lang ako sa Figma right before the pandemic. It's the same thing. Um, One thing the realization ko actually when I moved from Sketch is like the core of the way we do things does not change. Like it is
Yes.
still rectangles, squares, typeface, etc. It doesn't change. Like it's like whether a frame in Figma is still a rectangle, kahit anong gawin mo. So it doesn't change. There are good habits though for Figma. May mga certain things like the way you group things, but it doesn't change. And that you take with you, that's transferable. When it comes to automation though, like that is a different ballgame. But there are things then, well, in terms of UI kasi, hindi pa niya completely automate. There are certain things na you kind of have to do yourself. Like in a sense, you still need to do the product learning of like what's important, ganyan. But what it takes away from you is yung grunt work of pixel pushing, of like, ano ba mukha ng isang form field, etc., things like that. That can be automated. And the thing kasi, ako at least, I kind of was ahead of the wheel on this when I started working on design systems. Na I know na at least ma-automate yung paggawa ng buong page, but I can actually start designing what would those fields look like. So I would actually end up creating the components that Midjourney would, things like Midjourney or etc. or DALI would end up like ipagtatapa-tapa niya together. So that's how I viewed things. But also, this is why I say then na parang working on your core will always be good kasi even in an automation kind of space, there are things like the very high level thinking of design, like user research, understanding what's better, testing, usability testing your design will never, it's unlikely that will be automated kasi because you actually need to see use your stuff. So yun yung parang, that's how I've been keeping up, but also like not being afraid of like the automation because there are certain things that just really will not be automated.
Yeah. And there's still a limit.
There's still a limit.
Kailangan
Kasi,
pa.
oh, like you like let's say testing, you can say
Yeah,
na i-automate natin according to standards, but the reality is standards change
correct.
depending and standards change context then based. Like what might be best here might not be best for Hong Kong or Japan.
Yeah.
Lalo na Japan, like God, they are weird when it comes to forms. Yun, you have to like those change and those need human touch.
Mm. Mm.
I do think nga na ano, yung automation, like yung in general service, ayun pwedeng ma-automate. Pero pag kunyari, you're offering us a service na platform or ano, may preference pa rin si market, pati yung, kunyari,
Yes.
si
Yeah,
business at saka si ano, preference. Which is, hindi ma-automate, right? So, kailangan pa rin ayusin in a way that would fit kung ano yung demand na kailangan, right? So, it makes things easier, but it's still the same process. So that's what I'm
Hmm.
thinking.
A good a good way to explain it is my good friend JP, who is the founder of Frost Design. Frost Design now is actually one of the people behind some of the redesigns of the Gcash app. So on the very brand visual end, he mentioned na parang what Midjourney, Dali, etc. does for him is it makes things faster. Like an image, like let's say of a ukulele, used to take him a week to like render and create. With Midjourney, it's a day. Naaayusin lang niya yung dithering, etc., yung
yeah,
lighting. And then may asset na siya kaagad. That
oh,
usually would take him a week. So it just makes things faster for him.
O parang pag meron kang nakuhang asset doon, like, lipat mo lang sa Illustrator, tapos trace mo, di ba? Tapos, ano,
And
export mo
lilinisin
na.
mo, lalagyan mo ng shadow, etc.
Oo,
Ayusin yung shadows for
actually, at the same time, yung scary part nun is parang ini-scrap nila yung data na stored sa ano, 'di ba? Na stored sa on space sa internet. Tapos kung ano yung na-feed, dun sila magge-generate. Which is scary kasi part may some part doon were licensed by creators tapos nakukuha as stock photo. Minsan may sumasabit pa ng stutter shock, ganon, yung mga ano,
oo,
yung mga stock watermark na ayun lang siguro yung there's a fine line of ethical
correct.
cost kasi you paid the service of using it tapos at the same time it's license asset ni yung artist, diba? We don't know yet kasi pero right now it's not illegal kasi wala pang law about it, pero once na may law bawal na, diba?
Correct.
Ayun, just want to share that ayun yung based on our
So yeah, so we talk about Mark, Andre, and Amy about the improvements of tech and ano yung mga kailangan na core natin before we transition to specific specialization that we want to venture out. So my question is, what are some of the most exciting developments happening in each of your fields right now? And of course, what opportunities do they present for aspiring professionals? Mark?
So I guess to start with, so I was mentioning this off cam. I think one thing that is coming out, there's a lot more startups, etc., working around this space, and I think also with the development of AI is helping this space very well as well. Is designers and tech and companies just being more aware around wellness, mental health, etc., and how to work around like let's say remoteness and mental health, etc. And it's really interesting because it's giving people the chance to like make tech more human talaga. Like when I say really make people working in tech more human and humane, actually in that sense. Um, I think this is something that came out from the pandemic. That people were forced to work from home. That people were so used to like the tech hustle of like constantly working, and then the burnout from that. Nagkaroon nga ng sinasabi nila that the great what they call it, the great resignation, etc. Things like that.
Yeah.
People are more aware now about wellness, and there's so much being done around the wellness space, and as well as people learning how to design and work through their design careers in a more healthy manner. Tech and wellness space like Headspace, Kona recently released. It's fairly new. They released something with ChatGPT to help ask people around like how they're doing. It's amazing, amazing tech. But also for people starting out in design and in UX, parang because it used to be like before the pandemic, in order to get somewhere in tech, you needed to constantly put yourself out there. Like,
Yeah.
kailangan mo talk, create content, write so much, etc. Ganyan. People are now more aware and people are more humane to themselves and nicer. So like when you need rest, you need rest, and it just makes design and tech more humane that way.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I'm all for it. And it's spreading, and I think that's also helping drive the spread to other wellness. Like you have people who are interested in like health and fitness apps again, and
Yeah.
health and fitness
Uh-huh.
technology. Peloton is still alive kahit na natatawa ako about it kasi Peloton is like doing well. Garmin is doing well.
Uh-huh.
Fitbit is again in space because of this. And yun nga, like the new technology around automations, etc., is actually really helping that out. So, yeah.
There's a lot of improvements personally, and of course in the terms of tech industry talaga.
Mm.
So for you, Amy, what are developments in your field that you think is the most exciting in terms of that? And also, what are the opportunities they present to
I
aspiring
think
professionals?
first siguro since AI is now we have now ChatGPT and there's a lot of things going on with different Google, Microsoft and such. I think another thing here is that mas okay na or mas nini-improve na yung way how developers can now work. Basically before we had some it takes a lot of time to resolve whatever bugs that we have in a program. But now that there's ChatGPT, there's this
Mhm.
companion tools like for AI, mas napapabilis. So I think in the sense na any developers can now learn anything that they want
Mm.
in any specific fields through the use of these developments. And I think it helps them to make more prepared and
Mhm.
easy for them to work with yung mga tools na yun. So I think that's one. And then there's a lot of job opportunities right now na hindi pa natin, like for example, there's this word prompt engineer. Now we're in they uses this AI developments to and then they make prompts. So I think the more na merong mga AI developments, the more that there is an opening for jobs for people.
Mm.
And I think that's a good thing. And at the same time, it continuously, I guess, more and more jobs will be introduced in the market and other, developers working or planning to go with can, jump into this and
Mhm.
perhaps they can find success in sa career na yun. So I think that's my take for this.
One of the recent breakthroughs in AI technology involves the aspect of creativity. So, for Amy, using this as an example, do you think that AI would take over jobs for
That's
humans?
one then. Since in line with Mark, since for you a UX design, I think what I can really say for that is it doesn't really take over what we can do. Because since AI just copy, replicate what is
Mhm.
already have out there, and as humans, we have something that AI cannot do, and that is,
Mhm.
build something out of the scratch. Because right now, like, yung mga kumahalat na mga features tipo na I thought
Mhm.
it's real, but then when we look at it, hindi pala siya kasi he's wearing
Yeah.
ganito, ganyan. And I think
Mhm.
that's one thing that AI can't really do or can't even take from us kasi we don't replicate things na meron na out there. And I guess the creativity, it's something that human is already have. And
Mhm.
I guess AI can still maybe years of just to take that way of uniqueness, kumbaga. So I think that's one thing. And I see then na AI can just really do what we feed to that. Now, for example, I
Mhm.
think certain mga things now or images or and so on from let's say UI design or other field of industry. It just learn from the existing. And then from there, they get the idea, okay, ito yung possibly na patterns from that. But us humans, it's different. Like, yes, this is something that's already there, but we
Mhm.
can always, make something new. na out of it na hindi pa like ganyan. So I think that's one thing. And in terms of the workforce, I guess more jobs will be introduced. And I know for the years to come, I think you would be seeing a lot of developments,
Mm.
and tech will somehow be or saturated with this career, and perhaps my career would be changed after years, like hindi na siya
Mm.
data science. So I guess that's something for us developers to be prepared to these changes and
Mm.
be able to adapt as soon as possible, and always to keep open for learning, kasi it's a journey of how we have to learn this new developments, and then there's another one, so we
Mm.
have to continue learn from there. And I think that's one thing that I could see perhaps in the next years.
And as for Mark naman, as a creative yourself, do you have any worries about your career possibly being taken over in the future by AI?
Not really. A friend of mine actually tweeted this na parang the moment you stop being scared about AI taking over your job, the moment it's the moment that you start realizing the possibilities of what it can do for you. So in this case, like I
Yeah.
see AI as an amazing tool that can help us do things faster. Um, like like example pa lang, like job hunting. Guys, if you don't know, you can actually ask ChatGPT to help you out write cover letters. Holy
Mm.
shit, the amount of time you
Really?
save is
Yeah.
extreme. Like, not to say that you'd send them out
Yeah, yeah.
dire-diretso, kasi double
To
check nyo,
email.
but
Uh-uh.
it does save you so much time. Even like mid-journey, etc., it just creates your assets for you, and it just helps so much time, you, and save you so much more effort. It just, pero hindi pa rin nawawala dun yung the amount of thought and
Yeah,
intent that
yeah.
you have to go through things, you
Mm.
have to make with things. Because product thinking and like design thinking still needs human people to actually assess what
Yeah.
people need. Kasi in this
Mm.
end, we're designing for people naman, not for robots. So uh,
Correct.
I
Mm-hmm.
I actually just recently had a chat then with my old friends talking about Japan and how like the issues for Japan for design because they have an aging population. They're actually asking for more people to apply to Japan because they have an aging population. The problem there
Mm-hmm.
is learning how to design for that aging population. You can't do that with an AI
Yeah.
bot right away. Kasi,
Mm.
di ba, kung nanginginig yung obasan, how do you design
Uh-uh.
interface for that? Yeah.
Hindi siya masyadong in line to humanity kapag lahat AI driven without a
Yes.
Yeah.
touch of being an actual person.
You,
Correct.
you, you, like even robots in Japan are trying to at least have some humane touch to them.
Mm.
So because of course they don't have enough young people
Yeah.
anymore to actually serve their aging population. They rely on robots, but even those robots are designed to be somehow humane. Pa rin. Like I know
Mm.
they make seals, robot seals for like
Ah.
aging care homes. That's partly humane,
Yeah,
being
correct.
having a human touch.
Parang
Yeah.
the design is still in that. Mm.
Yes.
Agree on both on Amy and Mark's thought. Kasi um I'm just excited and also scared because I'm excited because there's a lot of more things to learn and do, right, with this opportunity. And then also scared siguro ano, because if the current technology advancements is too fast, and then the one we're using for public use are in beta, right? And then we can access it publicly. What more yung ano can access ng what more yung limitation na can access ng mga developers, right? So I'm excited, and then I think the growth will be fast, and then we are in a generation between an emerging technological advancement growth um era or something like 'di ba? Parang there's a sudden emergence on AI and everything, and that I think the next few years will be interesting on tech, right? So, um, how do you think we can address industry concerns dun sa automation at saka job displacements nga about that? So, Mark and Amy, want to learn more about your thoughts about it. You said your thoughts earlier na, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think the merong lately recently actually, like with these developments with AI, like some companies really trying to push through stop these developments in six
Mm.
months ganun. And then one thing that some of the AI practitioners is saying na instead of stopping this, along with these developments is merong still following yung safety and ethics dun sa ginagawa nila na
Mm.
wherein hindi siya nagiging scary or at least too much developments or like parang nagiging threat the word thing
Mm.
itself. So I think one thing is I can really say to this is um as long as merong guidelines or at least somehow
Mm.
people with these developments are still pushing through yung ganon, we can still have a responsible developments na it's really for us, na it's really for
Mm.
the people at hindi lang siya for just getting more and so on. So I think that's one thing. And then siguro continue to communicate this to the people na these developments may be scarier that what we think of, but if there are a lot of people really sharing what's this AI or chat GPT, how can we use it
Mm.
better, or to
Mm.
educate more people so that they could be prepared or they understand these developments because people get scared to something if they
Mm.
don't know. So I
Mm.
think that's what we can do as practitioners to always educate people and give more information to them and then teach them how to use these developments to make their life easier.
Mm.
That's one thing that we can do. And ayun, if there are any things that we can do much aside from that is ayun, to be the first person to really not scare them more, to treat the people na this is not taking away what you have already and so on.
Mm.
So yeah, the more on like reassuring them that this is just a system. We can use it
Mm.
to make more money, to make more profit in our company, but it will not take what we can do
Over.
as a human. Yeah. So I
Mm.
think that's one thing I
and
can
the
say.
For
experience.
design, at the very least, a big part of it is upskilling and really upskilling people. And this has been a long problem that the Philippines has constantly had, brain drain. Like ang hirap maghanap ng senior sa Pilipinas. And then for juniors to even upskill to a senior, they need a senior to help them out. So it's hard. That's why there aren't a lot of seniors. Lahat ng seniors natin umalis na ng bansa or like work abroad. So it's upskilling is really important, but also making sure that we give it opportunity to upskill is super important. So and this is, I hope, well, we're still trying to recover from the pandemic. Well, I remember before the pandemic, we had a lot of like conferences, etc., meetups for that. When those finally return, it might be time to start thinking about the way we do that. Because a lot of the conferences and meetups before we were talking about this now are constantly just talking about intro to this, intro to that. That's not gonna cut it in the as AI continues to move forward. Because the intro, the small basic stuff might be taken over by the AI. So you have to dig deep into like those concepts and start upskilling people with the heavy concepts
In the
na.
more technical aspect naman, so in terms of skills, ano sa tingin niyo na in the future, this skill is something na would be in demand in tech? Is there a specific skill, tool, or anything? What you, Mark?
Sa akin, I think people management, oddly enough.
Mm,
Kasi like
yeah,
being a design manager is, I've been there, it is tough. It kasi like
correct.
you are both designer and people managing at the same time. Like even like whether you're head of design, etc., the people management skills is so it's so different than our ball game of just sitting in front and just wondering how what to do.
Yeah.
So lalo na when you're dealing with designers who all have different ways of doing things. So that's gonna be in demand. Oh, like everyone has
Yeah,
a different way of creating a
correct.
circle for some weird
Mm.
reason. So
So,
yeah.
were you for as a lead, you talk directly with with kung sino man yung nag-offer nung may need nung task tapos i-share mo sa people mo and then you need to empathize di ba? It's
Mm.
hard
Yes.
directly tapos i-share mo tapos babalik-balik. Kumbaga ikaw mediator in general di ba?
Yeah. Mediator and like there's a whole part about it that's storytelling kasi ayun, that's the
Oo.
skill, like the storytelling skill around it. Like the sobrang amazing quote I remember I heard at UX Hong Kong 2015 by the girl from Samantha Soma from GE said sometimes kasi we create the worst user experiences for our teammates. Sometimes we are the broken interface, and that's why
Mm.
we need to learn to people manage as well.
Oo.
Kasi it's not user experience is not just about your client or your customer's experience. It's how your
Mm.
teammates experience you. Then
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with that. You're a designer, you're an individual contributor as well as you need to manage a team. So I think as a recruiter myself before, yung isa talaga sa hinahanap most of our clients is people management. Kahit na sabihin mo na hindi manager, supervisory yung title, but as long as you have people management skills, it's really easy to have a harmonious relationship with your colleagues eh. So I think that is one skill talaga, not only in tech, but also with other industries right now.
For me naman, I think that what do you call that? Yung industry concerns and automation with her and her industry. I agree because tawag nito, yung growth talaga ng kasi on her end, it started with the machine learning, tapos data scrapping from bottom to up dun sa mga search engines, right? Tayo nag-feed ng data, tapos over time, dun na-compose yung AI. It started from data. Everything started from data, and then, ayun, sa data na na-feed natin, it became automated since yung common queries, na ulit-ulit, and then it revolves around tendencies. I do commend both of you guys on scaling and growing
Mm.
with your career. We're excited on growing with you since sabay-sabay tayo mag-grow in this
Yes,
years to come, right? So,
correct.
Paul,
Also, with the viewers right now, and for those who will be watching this episode, I know that some of you would think to, of course, check out an exciting part of the industry, which is tech. My final question, or our final question for Mark and Armielyn, would be: what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in their tech career? For those who are starting, and also for those who want to shift or transition into tech. So,
I
Armely?
think the first would be is that don't I guess right now I really feel the same with now. No, overwhelmed. And at the same
Mm.
time, we feel scared to step out kasi parang AI can do that naman eh. Why do I need to learn from that? Or ano pa yung parang job that I can do kasi AI can, is
Mm.
smarter than me, ganyan. But I think what we always need to remember that these are just system. Tayo pa rin yung gagamit nun. And without us, hindi sila smart. Yung parang ganun, na parang
Mm.
without our supervision or without human intervention, these developments will not work. And I guess that's something na for developers to keep on learning and then understanding the system, and then at the same time, laging kasama yung humans on these things that we will be doing. Kasi wala, they don't know anything about the world eh. Parang we're just the one trying to build it or like feed it to something like the data or something what we call. And then that's something I can say din to starters na just start, or if you're interested to AI, um yes, it's overwhelming, but find your niche from here. Like if you're interested to, let's say, healthcare, because a family of yours have experienced this health problems, and how can you help them to use this technical skills that you have, or from there, parang find something na, I guess, an edge na the reason why you're here in tech is because you're trying to solve a problem. Hindi lang just to get, be well known or get more
Mm.
compensation. Kasi like the tech is really overwhelming. Burnouts will gonna be there. And you have to learn every single day with different tech stacks or tech stacks. And I think that's something like finding the reason why you're here and why you to want to go here. And then that will make you stay in the long run in tech. Kasi yun yung that's something that you hold for the rest of your career. So
Mm.
that's something. And then always be open for people that will teach you or mentor you or help you
Mm.
throughout your career if you can find one. It doesn't have to be technical people already. They could be those people na get you the reason why you're here. and then ask, questions na ano ba yung mga kailangan nila, or like what are like the challenges they face on these things, and perhaps you can find a way to solve that through technology. So I think that's one thing I
Yeah,
could
I
say.
totally agree with that. How about you, Mark? Mark, you're on mute.
Sorry.
I guess for me, learn to value rest. Like you
Yes.
need to create your boundaries then around you, not just with like how much you like your clients, your customers, your etc. Like, but also like learning how much do you have to give, and you can give
Mm-hmm.
like learn the value of rest. Because you time is not something that you can earn back, but you can always
Mm-hmm.
earn back
Right.
money. So parang yun, like I personally like ang dami kong like I wish I could have done earlier in my 20s that I'm trying to do as much as I can to earn back now. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, learn the value of rest because
Mm-hmm.
it's only when I actually find it that when I'm at rest, that's when I come out with the most amazing ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like let yourself at rest. What they call this in feed your design work and not your design work, and then let your work actually feed whatever your passion is in that sense. Like think about your boundaries that way.
Like after resting, no, since you have a more peaceful mind, you will be coming up with designs that are really good for you and
Mm.
of course for the users.
Or even at like I think yung yun best way to go. Let let your life nourish your design. So like sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
think of the most amazing things while you're out doing things that you love, and then with your job nourish the things that you love in your life. Example, I love riding my bikes. I will take
Uh-huh.
my time to ride my bike as my mental health thing, but also it's what I love doing. But sometimes I find the most interesting nuances while I ride my bike.
Mm-hmm.
Na parang, why is this intersection this way? Why is
Mm-hmm.
this written this way, etc. Maybe I could this maybe this can be made better, etc. Those I think about while I'm riding my bike, and those kind of feed into my design that way. Of course, my design work earns me money so that I can afford my bikes because they're not expensive, because they're not
So
cheap.
that I can ride my bike.
So I can ride my bikes. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same. Like
Yeah,
let's say for people who
correct.
have a passion for food, etc., things like that. You find things that nourish your design that way, and vice.
And it goes in circles, di ba?
Yeah.
You can afford your day off riding your bike
But
because you got inspired, di ba? While
yes,
riding your bike.
exactly. Yeah, that's very true.
Endless chain of productivity. Siya,
Mm-mm.
yan.
And it doesn't
Correct.
have to be productive. Yun din
Oh,
eh. It does not have to be
Mm-mm.
productive.
Just need to be relaxed and in your peaceful
Yeah.
mind. So those are really both are really valuable advices for those who want to work in tech and also want to try out and check out exciting opportunities in tech.
yes. And speaking of opportunities, don't forget to check our website or page because we offer tech roles to those who are starting. So
Mhm.
don't forget visit thenormita.com or check our LinkedIn profile because every day we post opportunities for tech every day.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
ayun.
And of
um,
course, Mark and Amy, thank you so much for being here in our third episode. I hope this won't be the last. And thank you so much for giving your wisdom to our viewers and more about hacking your success into tech.
so happy because we learned a lot. This is so fruitful, and then the exchange was so insightful. At the same time, it's
It's
very
genuine.
it's light and genuine. I learned a lot too as a host, and then I think I'm excited for everything that will happen with the future. At the same time, excited on your next individual talks with us. So
Yes.
hopefully we can talk again later sometime. Maybe another topic, maybe another episode, or maybe on some other time. But we hope on our next meeting we can add more value to ourselves then, right? So um we can exchange and then learn more from each other. So excited.
Yes. So again, thank you so much, Amy, and I hope that we can see you for our next episodes pa ng Lennor Calls. So you can also check out their LinkedIn profile. We can put it or of course if you want to know more about Mark, his bikes and his work as well as Amy. So we will be putting their contacts and link in profile there,
Mhm. So sa
where you can reach
FB
them.
dito, to sa LinkedIn chat dito. So you can check it
Alright.
later on.
So again, thank you so much for those for our viewers for this Lennor Pass, and I hope we can still be with you on our next episode. And thank you so much, Andre, for being my guest host. Hopefully next time ka ulit.
Yeah,
So
next time
yeah,
different topics or different
yes,
partner or
ex-
different ano set. But
exciting.
maybe next time. Thank you guys for having me. So,
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
great day
Bye.
everyone. See you next episode. Thank you guys.